Good evening. We will now call to order our January the 18th, 2024 Human Relations Commission of Asheville in-person meeting. We will begin with our land acknowledgement, welcoming members, staff, and public. Good evening. I am Chair Alma Atkins, and I would like to welcome you to the January 18th, 2024 Human Relations Commission in-person meeting. We are coming to you live from the Cherokee homelands, where the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians remain a sovereign nation to this day. We will now call our meeting to order. The duties of the Human Relations Commission of Asheville include, but are not limited to, 1, make policy recommendations to the City Council which promote and improve human relations and advance equity in the city, support the city's Office of Equity and Inclusion, provide a forum where residents can raise issues and complaints relating to human relations in the city, and engage the community regarding the utilization of city-funded programs and policies for the promotion of human relations. And then 5, promote and improve human relations and advance equity in the following areas: public safety, educational, art and cultural opportunities, economic development, health and human services, and housing. All committee members and staff are participating in person. We are also streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website, and also linked to the committee page. We also have an option for public to listen live by phone by dialing 855-925-2801 and entering meeting code 973. For those of you who plan to speak during our live public comment today, you will need to be present to speak. For those of you out there with us today, welcome. We will now have our roll call. I will go through and introduce all commission members, staff, and guests. Our commission members, for our commission members, please make sure to wait until you are recognized by the chair before speaking. When you have a question or would like to speak, raise your hand, and when recognized by the chair, you may speak. Commission members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. And as you can see, we're a little short of staff today. But my name is Alma Atkins, and I am the chair. Daniel Young.
Hello.
Crystal Michelle Reed.
Good evening.
And John Mayer.
Good evening.
Our City Council liaison is Councilwoman Kim Rooney. Our city staff members are Julian West, our Equity Inclusion Consultant and Staff Liaison for HRCA. Brenda Mills, our Equity Director. Brad Branham, our City Attorney and Legal Representative. To give us a shared understanding of group norms and to ensure everyone participating feels heard and valued in the meeting. We will review the group agreements which were created based on the board's and commission's ethics policy. Be civil and courteous. Be respectful of differing opinions. Be present. No personal attacks. Remember the acronym. Wait. Ask yourself, why am I talking or why aren't I talking? Pursue the common ground. Respect and honor the majority decision. Be fair and impartial with votes and discussion, and adhere to the ethics policy. To start committee agenda items, please note for the public, to help our audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. Again, I ask committee members to raise your hand and be recognized to speak. Please state your name each time you comment. Just a reminder that the public is listening on the phone, and this keeps them up to date on the order of the meeting and who is commenting or speaking. Acknowledge if there is a quorum for the meeting. A quorum for this commission is 5 attending commissioners. If no quorum is present, we will proceed with other matters that do not need a vote. And we currently do not have a quorum. So, as stated here, if we do not have a quorum, then we will proceed with other matters that do not need a vote. Because we do not have enough commissioners present, the next portion of the agenda is to approve the minutes from the November 16th meeting.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, not to interrupt. Brad Branham, City Attorney. This is another item that the lack of quorum will force us to go ahead and move on. We may have another member or two show up at some point. If that's the case, we can adjust the agenda and come back to approval of the minutes. If we don't have another person show up, what we'll do is approve the previous minutes plus the minutes from this meeting together at your next meeting that you have a quorum. But for my suggestion, if you could move on perhaps just to the staff update at this point, and we can always come back to the approval of the minutes if we need to.
All right, sounds like a plan. Very good. So we will move on to our staff updates, and we will introduce Mr. Julian West, who is our new equity and inclusion consultant and a new Asheville City staff liaison for the HRCA. So I turn the staff updates over to you, Julian.
Hello, good evening. My name is Julian West. I've been an employee for the city of Asheville since November 15th of this year, or excuse me, of last year. And I come to you with a bit of experience in equity, mainly in education. And I'm excited to be here and look forward to helping support the HRCA along this journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as stated by Mr. Branham, we have some things on our unfinished business that we will review, which is our discussing our HRCA work plan. This is a new year, and we are in a position where we need to reevaluate and relook at some of our key actions, as in the year of 2023, we have not completed nor begun several of the actions. I suggest, and I bring before the rest of our commissioners, that we take a look at these key actions. One of the things we are looking at on here is the HRCA Equity Award Ceremony for the City of Asheville MLK Breakfast. Those are kind of the things that we have on here under intergovernment relations, community engagement, addressing housing issues, examining systems, and improving HRCA. And we as a commission really need to hone in the key actions that we really want to focus on in 2024. So, it is my suggestion that we go back, review the key actions as they stand, and in your individual focus areas, discuss what is relevant and what we can begin to work on in 2024. Is there any discussion on this? Thank you very much. The next is, and we're going to hold this one, the HRCA Rules of Procedure action item. We're going to hold on to this to see if we have more commissioners to come in order for us to be able to address this and make a vote. Okay? Thank you so very much for allowing us to make those adjustments in the agenda. If I'm sounding hesitant, it's because we're moving into now the new business, and we have areas which require more discussion than just the 5 of us, and I want to proceed in this meeting in a way that is going to be fruitful and help us to gain momentum in providing the services that we are duty-bound to provide as commissioners. So I am thinking, with the agreement of our commissioners that are present, that because we do not have a quorum, that we're going to move on with our agenda, but we will not make any votes at this time. Can we agree on that, Commissioner?
Yes.
I'm in agreement.
Yes.
Yes. All right, so we have new business up for discussion. And as stated, it was a HRCA award ceremony that takes no action, but we will need to discuss the specifics of this ceremony and determine what the next steps are if this is something that we would like to do. I don't think it has been done before, but that does not mean that this year, coming up for 2025 MLK festivities, that we cannot revisit that. So, please keep under your hat and in your mind the HRC award ceremony. And is this something that we want to pursue as a commission? And then we have on our new business, accessibility for disabilities. This is no action. This is a presentation that we would like to present to the commissioners in our next in-person meeting in March. And we are looking at getting a Disabilities Partners representative to give a presentation, to do that presentation. As in your packet, or as far as the emailed information that came from Julian, we have our annual report that was sent out to each commissioner. And to discuss the following highlights from the report: we completed the Crown Act, we completed review of member election process, and examined housing supply, and updated rules of procedure. And complete this, and we will need to complete and submit this report on January the 19th. If you have been able to read your documents, is there any questions or anything that you would like to say in regards to those highlighted things that we achieved in 2023? I'll give you a few minutes to think about it. It should have come in. It should have come in an email from Julian West. Commissioner Reed, did you receive your information?
Yes, I was able to receive the information and review it, as I was also in attendance to the meetings in participation with making the votes. So I would just say, I believe that we did a very good job in making those decisions and completing those, and I support moving forward for tomorrow, that submission.
Commissioner Miles.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'm just to get my head in the right line on this. The annual report item says, as you point out, complete and submit the plan by January the 19th. That's
Yes.
in 2 days, 1 day? Today's what,
Yes.
the 18th?
Yes, today's 18 tomorrow.
Okay. So are we in a position with these work tasks to submit this report? Okay.
Yes, as we stand now, we are in position. What you see before you as a part of the agenda were the highlighted things that we accomplished in 2023. We did complete the Crown Act. We completed the review of the member election process. We also did examining housing supply and by the housing focus group. And we did update the rules of procedure. Do you have any other questions, Commissioner?
One follow-up question. That was the completed review of member election process. Could you elaborate on that? That's something I'm not familiar with.
Okay. We reviewed the process by which members are elected and how many people we need to have on the board of commission, and that's it in a nutshell. We wanted to look at who is able to serve on this board, and we wanted to look at how many people that we need, just like we spoke of a quorum. We needed to know how many people that we had present in order to be able to function. And then we also looked at pretty much how we run our meetings. One more question.
I feel like Columbo. In terms of it may just be a euphemism, but in terms of election of members, the members here are appointed by the council, albeit by a vote of the council, so I guess technically that's an election. Is that what we're alluding to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the same process that you went through. We looked at that process, looked at the number of women, men, minorities. We looked at all of that as we reevaluated how we bring together this commission.
If I may.
Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Commissioner Reed, I have a question just because we are not at quorum this evening, and
Yes.
this item is on agenda for action. I guess my question would be, are we able to submit this by tomorrow without a vote being made at quorum?
I'm going to allude to our city attorney representative.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Reed. I think the short answer is probably not. I would suggest that given the lack of a quorum, the body can only take action as a body, not individually. And without a quorum, you are just shy of being able to do that. So in order to ensure that we have established the proper procedural limit to get an action taken by this body, and also to provide the council or commission members who aren't here the opportunity to weigh in on the issue, it might be a very good opportunity to advance this to your next agenda for future action.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarity.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Reed, and thank you very much, Mr. Barn.
Is it safe to move that item to the next meeting for agenda?
Yes. And because we're not going to be able to have a vote unanimously, we will review this item at our next in-person meeting.
Thank you.
Okay?
So what date does that?
What? Yes, Dan?
So what date does that push that due date to, from January the 19th to February the 19th?
No, we'll miss February because we don't meet in person in February, and that will push it to us being able to come together in March. Any other questions on that? I don't want to move us too fast. Okay, thank you so much. Those were very poignant questions, and I appreciate that. Next on that new business is the HRC retreat. No action this evening, but we were to discuss a day and time to meet outside of meetings to plan and complete projects. That also ties in with our key actions. We would like for a retreat to discuss the key actions from a serious workability aspect. We want to make sure that the things that we would like to work on are in line with our responsibilities to the community and to all that we look at as far as members of the Human Relations Commission. Because again, we do not have a full quorum and enough people. We can discuss, but we cannot make any action on when we will have the retreat. So if there's any questions or anything that you would like to ask about the key actions and how that ties into why we need to have a retreat, you may ask those questions at this time. No questions?
I don't have any questions. Commissioner Reed, if I could just state that it is very important, I guess now that we have new commissioners onboarding, that this retreat takes place. Meeting on every other month schedule, I think that it would be a good idea to move forward and think about looking at the off months in which we do not meet for a retreat or gathering of such. If I could just make that suggestion to everyone that is present.
So noted. And that's one of the things that we would need to solidify. I don't want to be presumptuous and say that I will make that decision, but I do want us in our focus groups to begin to look at the action items that we currently have and also look at your calendars for the off months and see what would be the best time that we could meet so that we can unanimously and all be able to come together and meet as a commission for a retreat. Okay? That's our directive at this point. Thank you so very much. We're moving right along, and we're into committee updates. These are from the key actions, and let's see. We don't have anyone from the intergovernment, community engagement. Commissioner Harvey's not here, and as a part of that focus group, I would like to say that we have not been able to meet, and that's one of the things that me and Commissioner Harvey has been speaking on, is that we would also welcome another commissioner to be a part of the community engagement focus area. But as far as a committee update, we have none for the community engagements. Commissioner Reed, do you have anything to report or would like to talk about with addressing housing issues?
Yes, thank you. I would like to first of all start off by stating that New Wayne is not present. However, we have been doing a mass amount of research throughout the state of North Carolina and how our city is affected by homelessness. In some of these studies, it's shown a lot of detail in the expense level here in Asheville, which is at about 98% higher than any other cities in the state of North Carolina. That gave us an opportunity to reflect on what it is that we're truly trying to help as far as engaging other citizens of the city of Asheville when it comes to homelessness. Not only is Asheville staggering with affordable housing, compounded by the impacts of the pandemic, we are also struggling in poverty, substance abuse, mental health, and domestic violence, which all counter the homeless crisis. So if I could just put that in the minds of everyone that is here tonight to think about now and in the future, this is what we are dealing with. And so I can understand why this is a very hard issue to address in our city. The numbers don't lie. I see that. One question that I do have for the city, I note that in March of last year, there was a record number of 145 projects that were funded through the state of North Carolina with over $37 million. I would like to know about how much money the city of Asheville and what projects do they support for this homeless crisis. If we could get information on that, if not tonight, at a further meeting, that would be great.
Yes. You proposed some very good things on housing, especially as it relates to homelessness. And we will go to the city, present your questions that you have about the funding as explained, and we will have information to return back.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner?
Just a question of the lady. In terms of your research, were you given any opportunity to look at, sadly, in the world we live in, homelessness and substance abuse or addiction typically can go hand in hand. One drives the other. It's not one, it's both. To that extent, is your data reflecting anything beyond homelessness, and in some cases, the core issue that might be driving that? And I ask for a reason. I'll let you answer that because I'm going somewhere with that question.
So, to answer your question, it does reflect all of which I stated. The homeless crisis does affect that. In the research that we have done, this is addressing the housing issues. That is an issue. Mental health is an issue. Drug abuse is an issue. The bigger issue is the homeless portion of it all. If that answers your question.
It does, and I think it relates to at least a current news issue that's been in the news this week. I think that the city launched a plan probably a year and a half ago, the old Ramada Inn out at River Ridge, to house a lot of these folks, and it didn't work out too well. A contract was entered into with a group from California, as I recall, with some expertise and experience managing such facilities. I mean, it's a great location, great facility, but it appears that that's not going to come to fruition. You know, I'd say the city, maybe this is personal, I would give the city council kudos for making a stunning effort in that direction, but it doesn't seem to have gone far, and I'm wondering if we could get some information shared back from council about what the plan is going forward with that, because that was not only a substance abuse issue, but it was a homelessness issue as well. And I think, again, it's one thing to start off with a good plan and a good vision, and then when it maybe doesn't work out, it's not a reason not to move forward. I would hope we could get some interaction with council on what the future of that is and how it might resolve some of your issues.
I'm glad to see our city council liaison, Councilman Kim Rooney, is in the room currently, and I would wonder if you would address that.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here and advising us as the Human Relations Commission. It sounds to me that there are a couple overlapping issues that are coming up for the commission at large, but also for your work group. And it seems like an appropriate ask could be that someone who's working on homelessness strategies in the city present to the Human Relations Commission. I realize you don't have another meeting until March. We are doing the point in time count next week. The point in time count is a one-time annual snapshot of homelessness in our community. We make an effort to count folks that are experiencing sheltered and unsheltered homelessness in our community, and we're currently looking for volunteers. You can get more information on the point in time count and how that's used at the city's website under homelessness strategies. Additionally, with the National Alliance to End Homelessness report, one of the suggestions that was made was that we needed to restructure how we address homelessness. Right now, the city of Asheville functions as the continuum of care. So all the federal funding that comes into Asheville and Buncombe County flows through the city's hands. And we're currently in a process of moving the continuum of care outside of the city of Asheville as an organization. This means that you can get involved in a way that you couldn't necessarily before. So the new continuum of care is accepting memberships now for individuals and for organizations. So if your neighborhood association or a school, we want to get as many members as possible to the table so we can address the many facets of homelessness in our community. If your faith community would like to be a member, for example, that individual and organizational membership form is also on the city's homeless strategies website. But for a future agenda item, I would strongly suggest asking maybe Emily Ball or someone in her office to be able to come and give an update on the National Alliance on Homelessness strategies, whether it's shelter, the continuum of care process, how our federal funding and local funding is being used. Because, as you know, housing isn't just about building new housing, it's also about keeping people housed. Did you have any other questions I might be able to help with today?
Commissioner Malley, did that answer your question?
Again, yeah, for now, just the fact that the city made a great gesture to solve a very serious problem, and it doesn't seem to be working out. So I would hope we don't just stop with, well, we tried.
Oh, sure. So I would say that in that National Alliance to End Homelessness report, the goal is to reduce homelessness in our community by 50% if we follow the 112 strategies in the report. Among those strategies is opportunities for housing, especially permanently supportive housing, so that you are addressing folks with specific needs around behavioral health and substance use, but also folks who have been homeless for a long time, and so they're entering into chronic homelessness. So once again, that National Alliance to End Homelessness report is on the city's website. When it comes to the Ramada, that project was specifically an opportunity to add permanently supportive housing units into our network here in the city of Asheville. Because that's not coming online, I would say the best update I could offer is that we will have an additional $500,000 that we had allocated for the programming. That doesn't mean that the programming doesn't still need to happen and that we couldn't still find another partner to provide that level of programming. So that's the update that I have for now.
Thank you very much. Oh, excuse me. Forgive me, Commissioner Reed.
If I may ask, this point in time, is this done specifically in the winter months?
It is a snapshot that happens once a year, and there are efforts at looking at if we should duplicate that on our own, though it wouldn't necessarily count towards the federal point-in-time count, just to see if maybe we have a different transient population at different times of the year. But yes, it is a window of time where all the point-in-time counts happen across the country, so we get a snapshot at the same time. Is it the best time of the year would be a great question to ask, but that would be outside of the scope of our local government.
Thank you.
I'm here
Any
if you
other
need me.
questions for Councilman Rooney? Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. Daniel, do you have anything to report on examining systems or improving HRCA?
No, ma'am, not at this time, I don't.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much. Are there any community announcements? Anything that you notice coming up in your community, in your area that you would like to put, make sure that we know and that those who are listening knows?
If I may,
Yes.
I apologize. I would like to take this time, as a commissioner on this board, the city is struggling with gun violence. I was speaking with Commissioner Young earlier, and addressing this is a bit of a bittersweet time because of the time of year and dealing with election. However, I would like everyone to please note that this gun violence must stop in our city. I'm making this as an announcement that this gun violence has got to stop in our city. It is affecting our children, It's affecting our communities. The small and large business in our communities are being affected by it. That means that we are all affected by it. So if we could all acknowledge that this gun violence must stop. Thank you.
Thank you, that was eloquently spoken. At this point, I would like to say if there are any events or anyone that is suggested that would be good to come and present to us as a commission on gun violence and what's being done currently, or what as a commission that we can do in regards to gun violence. I would be glad to receive that information. Do I see a finger from Commissioner Malley?
I would suggest perhaps a logical place to start would be our new interim chief. Again, with my many years on staff, I knew an awful lot of the officers in my career, probably still one or two, literally, that are still employed at the Asheville Police Department. But those people have a first-hand knowledge of what's going on, often what the problems are, whether they can affect legal remedy. You've got to have an awful lot of evidence to affect an arrest, but that doesn't preclude them from often having a tremendous depth of knowledge about what the problems are and where they're centered. It might benefit us to see if the chief and/or some of his staff could help us get a grip on this.
I do want to caution us as commissioners that we primarily address current policy, and what we need to see is what the current policies are around gun violence in order for us to intelligently be able to address this as a human relations.
Good point.
As a human relations focus. I do appreciate the eloquent and heartfelt plea made by Commissioner Reed, and I do receive Commissioner Malley's a suggestion about discussing this with our new police chief. But remember that we address policy and procedures and how things are brought to us as communities, families, friends, and all that are represented, because we're all affected by that, as you was stated. So I say all of that to say that moving forward, we can begin to look at those that would be most important to us to bring what the current policy is on gun violence and how it's being addressed in the city of Asheville. And if that's the new police chief, then we welcome him to be able to come and discuss how policy around gun violence is being addressed in Asheville. Any other statements or questions or comments? Those was very, very good. Do we have any live public comments? Since we have no live comments, we will begin to have our adjournment, but I do want you to look down at the future agenda items. I would also ask if there is a burning agenda item on here that you would really want us as a commission to discuss or to review the policy and procedures around those agenda items. Please contact me, Alma Atkins, the chair, or Julian West, our city equity inclusion liaison to the HRCA. thank you all for your participation, and I appreciate all that you do, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful 2024.